What's up, guys? All right. Okay, we are back on. I just got the email, so I'm sure a lot of you guys just got an email. And let me tell the Facebook group. It's almost 1,000 people in the Facebook group now. Very cool. And there's now almost over 1,300 people on the channel, which is cool. Feels legit to be in the four figures. All about the figures. Always need to have a comma in there. At least one comma. Uh, I love commas. Okay. Uh, Live now on YouTube, answering your questions. Okay. All right. Well, okay. So, let me find you guys. All right. Ashioma Istru, greeting from Canada. How you doing? Two. Hey, good to see you. Good to see you. Glad to see you guys or gals on here. Um, Happy to answer questions today. So, again, typically the format for these calls is I usually have some type of question that I'm prepared to answer before the call happens. This week I do not, but this is a live Q&A. So if any of you that are here, feel free to introduce yourself, ask whatever questions you might have. There are not any bad questions, and I will prioritize answering those questions even over one that I am already prepared to answer beforehand. Um, even when I have questions. So I prefer and prioritize answering questions from our attendees here. So if you're watching this as a replay, make sure you try to catch me live so I can answer your question. Um, so yeah, in terms of announcements, I do think it's important that I give some level of update about my current projects outside of course, this course, because I'm sitting here talking about how you can build a call center, and I now happen to be building two call centers. So I think it's important that you guys are aware of updates. So on the course agent side, I'm pretty excited. We are doing. I'm going to an event that my business partner is putting on, and this will be an opportunity. I'm going to have a booth. There's going to be a lot of our target audience there, and we think we're going to come out of that with a few dozen clients. Um, up to 30 or more clients just from that event. And the reason being is that one, in this niche, there's not a lot of people or really anyone that are attacking that space. Two, I'm spending the money. We're investing. I'm actually completely saving on this booth because my partner is putting on the conference. But we would be willing to spend the money to have this booth. Um, and so we'll rather than it being like a giant conference with like I don't know 1,000 people or more, even like 500-600 people, this is just going to be a few hundred people. And so when you have a booth in that scenario, you can get a lot of face time with practically everyone there, and so you get the chance to have high visibility and high touch with people that are good target clients. So that means you can have longer conversations. You don't have to try to get out. You don't have to focus on quantity. You can focus on quality. So I'm like literally 100% certain that we're going to come out of that with a few dozen clients. Um, okay, so I'm excited about that. The other thing is that it's been really nice working directly with overseas agents. Um, our Eastern European agents are fantastic. Our Zimbabwean agents are fantastic. There are some nuances that I've been learning over the past few months as it pertains to working with different groups of overseas people. But these are things that, once you learn it, what when you learn what the quirks are and the nuances, you can just adjust your management style, adjust how you put things together in terms of standard operating procedures (SOP), and we're going to come out significantly further ahead than if we were to use American-based talent. So, two, I have a lot of questions from an affiliate marketing angle, outbound contact center in the home services area. Okay, so two, what is your first question in that regard? Now, one thing just for the viewers here is, typically when someone's doing an outbound contact center, that making outbound calls. So, typically you're trying to sell something on those outbound calls, or you're like doing lead generation. You're trying to further some type of sales uh, process. Hey, Vante, good to see you on here. Having a good day, having a good start to my evening. Very dark out, but it's only 6:45 p.m. Oh, by the way, I just got this. If you see this map right here, this map is actually like a grid of Chicago, which I think is awesome. It's like different layers of wood that was cut by laser. Freaking awesome. It's called 3carvings.com. It's like one of my favorite purchases ever, I think. So anyway, so outbound calls. Um, when you say outbound call, do you mean in terms of, so to ask what's the best 2 hour time window to make outbound call? Now, are you asking in terms of trying to land people for your company, or landing clients on behalf of your clients? Um, that's what I would like to know. Your company. So yeah, if you're trying to land clients for your company, honestly, it can be very helpful to do it in the afternoon. Um, you know, the issue is when you call people early in the morning. In some cases, uh, and are you in New York specifically or on the East Coast? Because New York is a different animal from literally the rest of the East Coast. So is Miami. Miami and New York are just different. Okay, South Carolina. So that's a normal East Coast market. Um, I got Zoa, the Rocks Energy Drink Company. Very cool. Taste very good. Got this at Costco. Um, um, East Coast, South Carolina. So yeah. So anyway, what I would do, I would focus in the afternoon, because what happens is, you're reaching out to decision makers at company. Oftentimes you're probably reaching out to an owner, a company owner. And what happens is early in the morning, uh, I think about it in terms of myself, but also from actual conversations about this with other business owners and my experience. But also, I always think about things philosophically in terms of how I feel anecdotally. And the reality is, when I'm busy, like right now, I'm very busy, I wake up and I want to sort of get myself together. I don't want to be bothered too much, right? And then, when meetings start and like when we're getting into the work, which means, starting to converse with other people over the day, it's sort of like you go to war, it's like a showtime, like the show starts. And so in the morning, early morning, I don't want to be bothered. Uh, the working morning, when the work starts, you also don't want to be bothered because you're trying to handle actual things that right now are building my company, right now, not making decisions about potential things with vendor during that time. In the afternoon, if it's not an absolutely crazy time for a particular owner, then things are starting to die down a bit. You've mostly put out certain fires. Usually, the meetings are winding down, and so I'm thinking between like 2 and 5 p.m., maybe even 6 p.m., you're gonna have more touches and more willingness for people to talk to you. And so when people ask, that's typically, what we say anyway. Um, so that's the answer. So somewhere in the window of 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern time. Okay. Barker asked, "Hi Donald, is there a student who has sales reps who we can hire for cold calling prospects, especially to get lawyers and law firm clients?" So Barker, let me say two answers to that. One, you don't want to cold call law firms. You don't cold call law firms. That's the worst um, industry in this space to try to get from cold calling. Now you can cold email, and you could potentially do like LinkedIn prospecting, that type of thing. But lawyers, I mean, you can land them, but in terms of how many more people you got to call, how much more crap you got to deal with, lawyers are by far the most difficult. Everybody wants to serve lawyers, especially since I'm, talking about how easy it is to serve them and all that. And they're considered a prestigious client, but they're not the easiest to land. We landed a bunch of lawyers because we had inbound. We built up our content marketing, and we ended up with inbound lawyer signups, right? So you can get them outbound, but it's got to be on cold email or like LinkedIn or at conferences or something. So that's part one. Part two, I don't push my student to do any telemarketing whatsoever. My course talked about having an inbound call center. That's what I teach in the course. I don't teach about outbound marketing. Why do I not teach about it? Because it's an extremely difficult industry to be in. You're going to find people that want to use you, but in terms of fulfillment of services, having people that are good enough to actually land clients is stressful. You have to constantly do Q&A, quality assurance. You have to constantly do training. You have to constantly hire and fire people. Turnover is crazy in terms of your agents. You're dealing with every single stressor imaginable, just to, presumably be in a situation where you're able to serve client. And so the goal in this business in general is to be serving clients, right? So would you rather be serving difficult clients or easier clients? If you're going to choose between the two, I would go for the easier clients. And in my personal experience and opinion, it's easier to have someone try you out for outbound. Like Barker, you want to try somebody out for outbound, right? You want to get some sales. But it's very hard to be the person that provides the sales rep that are good enough to make sales and make your people happy. I was just telling one of our veteran students today, actually, because what happens when a lot of people are working on this and they're starting to build their company, and especially if you're booking appointments for your client. This guy got like 80 clients and he's still asking me this today, like literally 2 hours ago. Um, he's like, so is there anything we can do, to focus more on closing more people? I'm like, you don't want to start focusing on closing more people, because what will happen is that turns into you becoming a sales focused organization. You start promising stuff to your prospect. You start saying, oh yeah, if we get this number of calls, we'll probably be able to close this many. And then all of a sudden, at a certain point, now you've got a policy that says, if you're not closing 20% of this type of call, that's a problem. And so I've always been, and this is what I told them, I've always been very explicit in telling all my prospective clients as well as current clients that we are not salespeople and we don't close clients. Now, we'll be as helpful as we can be. We're going to have a good attitude. Obviously, we don't want to deter people from purchasing, but we will never operate according to a sales based metric. If we do that, then operationally as an owner, you're going to end up completely stressed out. You're not going to be able to sleep at night. There's some people that are like born salespeople, and I'm speaking as someone whose entire career was sales. And I would, always in the top sales rep. My first sales job, I was literally number one of 1,200 sales reps in my office. I was number one. So I have a sales background, and I'm telling you right now, I don't want to deal with it. So I know it seems like I'm really stressing that a lot, but I literally try my best to deter people from being an outbound call center. Um, Another thing I'll say, there's a recent student we got that had been running an outbound call center for the last several years, like 6, 7 years, and they are with enthusiasm switching over and converting to an inbound sales center. So keep that in mind. Okay. Actually, Barca, maybe I can connect you with them. Send me an email. I think every now and then, could they have some sales rep? It's a completely different vertical from what you're talking about. And yeah, I don't know if it'll work because you guys would be competing with each other. So I don't know. But send me an email. I'll reach out to them. I doubt it'll work out, but at least, it might be helpful. Okay, Monte, is it realistic to be able to employ 1,000+ agents with this business model, or as it reaches a certain point, major changes would need to be made? It's reasonable. The answer is yes. Ruby Receptionist is already beyond that. They have 25,000 clients, which means they probably have about 1,500 agents, and they're consistently growing. They do 9 figures a year, so over $100 million a year in revenue. And case in point, they didn't even do appointment booking, by the way, until 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, like 2019. And they launched in like 2005 or something like that, 2010. I don't know. It's been a while. They're certainly older than Vicky Virtual is, and they did less than us. And most importantly, they're about double the price of us. So they're like one of the most expensive, if not, they're the most expensive virtual receptionist company I've found in the market, and they're also the largest. And it's inbound, and it easily well over 1,000 agents. So don't worry about this. The reality is that inbound answering is a giant industry. It's doing $3 billion in the U.S. alone and growing at 7% a year. And globally, call centers are approaching $500 billion. So yeah, when you have an industry that's doing close to $300 billion right now, and approaching $500 billion in the next 5 years, you're going to have a large market of people that like need their calls answered. And so when you really think about it, right? Think about businesses in general. Every single brick and mortar you ever walk by in any city, the majority of businesses online. Anyone that has a phone number, I think 28 million businesses in the U.S. alone, right? So if you're in a situation where there's 28 million businesses, I'm telling you, people don't seem to understand this for some reason. But we're talking about incorporated businesses, not people that are like selling some crap on Etsy or like trying to do a t-shirt business or something that isn't like incorporated. 28 million incorporated businesses. Those incorporated businesses on average are going to have a phone number. If they have a phone number, someone has to answer the phone. So most legal businesses everywhere in every country have someone answering the phone. And so if you realize that, you recognize that, you realize that most businesses need our service, literally most, right? So if you start to realize that and you just put it in your brain, like maybe you haven't thought about this, so it's hard to imagine the industry being this big, but it's literally that big. If you start to put it in your mind, then 1,000 agents and having 25,000 clients even, it's not a huge thing. 1% of 28 million is 280,000. So Ruby would have to be $1 billion company in terms of revenue, probably like 1.5 billion, to even get to the point that they have 1% of the market, of the addressable market. So it's huge. Uh, Honey Lee asked, which NAIC code or SIC code do you recommend we use for the virtual receptionist? That is a very specific question. Let me find it really quickly. Uh, yeah, I think it's gonna be 517,000. It doesn't really matter too much, honestly. Uh, you just need to be doing what it seems like you should be doing. Hold on. Let me see if I have mine written down somewhere. Hold on. Oh, okay. So ours was Vicky Virtuals was 541,990. So let me type that in. Yeah. Ours wasn't even telecommunication. It was all other professional, scientific, and technical services because we're business services. We provide professional services for different businesses. So it doesn't really matter. The only thing that matters is that you're not being like fraudulent. You can't say, oh, we're a bank, and then you're some random crypto Ponzi scheme or something, right? Uh, so don't worry too much about stuff like that. I just told you what ours is professional services outside of the general ones, such as like consulting or management consulting, like that type of thing. You can do telecommunications. If I were to start right now, that's what it would be. Um, I recently started a call center, as you guys know. Let me see. I'm not going to look that up right now, but I'll type it in the comments later. That is a good question, but the main answer for that is just make sure there's a relevant one. Uh, don't get too hung up on it. Okay. Um, to act other people who make answering service scripts or telemarketing scripts. Are the people that make scripts. If I was you two, I would buy the course because that's the type of thing that we'll talk about in the tribe. Like the people that have created script for trying to land clients in this industry. Um, and I talk about how I went about landing clients in the course. So the script doesn't even matter, right? The only thing that really matters is I'll just give you a quick sort of breakdown, just a little bit, a crash course. If I when I was cold calling, I actually never had a script. What I did was I tried to find the path of least resistance to figure out their um, what their phone answering needs were. So, um, depending on how the conversation begins, if I'm able to get the greeting done, I can't remember what the greeting is right now, but it's probably if I were doing this right now, which I sort of am. Uh, Hi, it's Jason. Hi, Jason. My name is Donald. I run a company called Vicky Virtual, and we answer call for small businesses. I was wondering, how are you currently getting your calls answered right now? I know you picked up this call, but is there some type of receptionist that typically answers the phone when a new call comes into your business? And that's a question that gets someone talking. It's not a yes or no question. It's a valuable answer, such as, oh, well, typically I'm the one picking it up. Okay, well, since you're a painting company, are you like the main painter on the job, or do you have a like contractor that are working for you? No, I do a lot of the painting myself. We have some contractors on the bigger job, but I'm typically the one that does it myself. Okay, great. Well, so if you're out on a job and a call comes in, what happens? Do you answer the phone and pause your job, or do you let it go to voicemail? And they'll say, well, typically go to voicemail and I call them back. Okay, well, I would imagine that some of those voicemails, right, when you call back, they will have booked someone else. Is that correct? Would- You know, did Does that sound fair? Yeah, sometimes, but we feel pretty busy right now. We're pretty good. Well, listen, um, again, just I don't want to take a lot of your time because I know you're busy here. But the reality is that the service I offer, we help a lot of other painting companies, others in your market, to answer the phone. But you can just focus on not having to pick it up. You don't have to worry about whether or not you're able to call someone back that left a voicemail. Because as I'm sure you know, like I'm sure you've looked for other providers and contractors in certain scenarios, people are just dialing down the list, right? They might see you on a list of 10 different painting companies and you happen to pick up, great. But if not, one of your competitors is going to get the estimate and it might be a big job. And so, I'd love to grab your email if you got a chance. Uh, it's been a while, but this is basically how my conversations would go to someone that's listening to me, right? The goal is to figure out if they're missing a call and why, and how we can improve whatever their current, structure is for phone answering. It's very simple. It's not a script. It's a conversation that is just completely like realistic. It it's not, me trying to shove a certain set of sentences that have been pre-written that I jam into any conversation. It's I talk to the person, figure out what they're actually saying, and I respond accordingly based off of what they're saying. So if you have it in your head, listen, I want to figure out how you currently get your phones answered and how we can improve upon that. And then you simply tell them this is how, in a very simple way, we can improve on your situation so that you can make more money without any hassle whatsoever and in a way that isn't expensive to you up front. How much is a job worth to you? I know that painting companies, they make like $1,500 in revenue per job. And how do I know that? Because I used to run a painting company. So if you have experience in a given industry, you can approach prospects in that industry with some knowledge from the get-go that says, hey, I know what I'm talking about, therefore I'm qualified to help you. So, if I'm talking to a painting company, I can say something like, and what are you making, like 1,500 a job? You don't even have to ask them, so how much do you make a job? You can say, well, you're making 1,500 a job. And that's the type of trigger that said to that person, hey, this person seems like they know what they're talking about. Maybe I'll keep answering. Maybe I'll keep talking to them. And if they say, oh yeah, well actually it's around 2,200, we only go after bigger jobs. Oh, well, if that's the case, I know for a fact that if we're answering the phone for you and we land you one extra job a month, it's going to be profitable for you. We do offer a 2-week trial. Is it something that you're at least willing to try out? And if they say no, great, call someone else. If they say yes, great, get their information and try to get them signed up. So if you're calling people consistently, you're having real conversations with them, and you're meeting them where they're at in terms of what their situation is, then that's the script, that's the sales process. It doesn't get any more complicated than that. So that was a very impromptu sales lesson. Hope that helps you guys. Okay, any other questions? Its energy drink is pretty good. I just started drinking them because this one is has zero sugar, has some type of thing to help your immune system, and the sodium's relatively low at 5%. So I like it. And for some reason, I'm usually yawning on these calls, and I haven't yawned. Maybe I did yawn earlier, but I don't think I yawned. Did I yawn earlier? I can't remember, but I don't think I yawned earlier. So, uh, yeah. Okay. Did you use affiliate marketing at any point during your past businesses? Um, well, technically, yes, but in terms of any successful companies, no. Um, I have a course, right? I'm doing this based off of my course. I've had a few affiliates very early on, but I didn't specifically go after having affiliates. There were just a few podcasts I was on that, give them an affiliate link. If someone happened to watch or listen to the podcast, click on the podcast specific link and buy, then they would get credit for the sale. Um, so I don't really do much affiliate marketing. But I will say that there's no reason not to go after affiliates in this case. But course agents, the new company, especially since we're in the course industry and my partner in the business is the one that's going to be more focused on getting the clients in that company. He's very familiar with affiliate marketing. And so, he's trying to get people interested in selling our service to other people as an affiliate. What I can say is that it's not the most attractive thing for a lot of affiliates because the sales process is longer than someone buying a course. If someone buys the course, boom, they're getting paid. It's a very specific amount of money every time. They always know. With the service like ours, it's like, everybody that signs up, well, anyone above a starter plan could be any amount of money. Uh, you know, Someone could be interested and either sign up that day or sign up 2 months later. I had people that are interested, and this has happened to students. I've had people that are interested that will sign up 6 months later. And as an affiliate, it's not consistent enough because what happens is they're trying to spend a certain amount of money in ad spend every single month. And if they're not getting a consistent return that month, then there's other things that they rather promote. So keep that in mind. Um, Barker said, so to get law firms, you did it all with content marketing. Yes. So if I'm going after law firms, there's a few approaches I'm going to take. One, uh, first of all, regardless, you're doing content marketing. I'm not saying that you're not doing that, but regardless, within the industry, you're focusing on content marketing. I mean, once you get that in there, people coming to you is, that's just free sales for you, right? Everybody wants that. So do that, build that up. 70% of all of the clients we ever landed, and we're talking over 1,000 sign up, were inbound. So build up your content marketing is extremely important. That's one. Two, in terms of law firms, I would actually, and we even did this on Viki, it's the only like sort of tab that was specific to an industry on the entire site, and that was the legal tab. But what I would potentially do if I were trying to focus on law firms is I would straight up create a law firm specific call center. So, like, for instance, Lex Reception, that's what they are. Lex Receptionist.com. I can't remember if that's right or not, but it's either Lex Reception or LexReceptionist.com. They started as a virtual receptionist company for law firms exclusively, and now they're a good size. I'm gonna guess they've got 200-300 agents, something like that, maybe even more. And but the point is that they spoke to the lawyer demographic by being for lawyers. Um, and so if you want to attract lawyers and you're cold outreaching to them, then you need to be like, no, we're competent at this, we're good at this because we only focus on attorneys. Um, and so that'll give you a better chance of getting your foot in the door. Again, I wouldn't do it with cold calls. I would do it with cold email. Barca, we didn't do any cold. Well, actually, we did after. So some of our sales rep were doing cold email. I never personally did cold email. Um, and But the thing to understand at this point, a lot of times I answer these questions based off of what I did, but now we've got 50 launch 50 plus launch call centers in the tribe community. So you've got all these people that are doing their own marketing. And so now I have a lot of data that I can just pull from other call center cast students that are going out there and landing clients right now, right? The tribe community is doing over $1 million a month in revenue now. So keep that in mind. So between all those people, a lot of people have a different marketing approach. And I know for a fact that some of them are using cold email to land attorneys. And I know for a fact that some of them are using LinkedIn outreach to land attorneys. So that's why I can say with confidence, if I'm doing it, that's what I would do because I know of students that are doing it, right? Um, but cold calling is for attorney. Cold calling is fantastic. Let me be clear on that. The people that I mentioned before that have the outbound thing, literally this lady this week started, and I mean literally Monday. She started doing cold call and she's already landed 3 clients. Like this week she started, she's at 3 clients. And she's just gonna get better at it as she continues to, talk to more people. Um, so keep that in mind. But attorneys is very difficult. What was your CAC for your first virtual call center company? What's C on C? What's CAC? I don't know what CAC is. It's the acronym. Common, it's not common asset card. Uh, it's funny. One of the beautiful things is I don't know all the acronyms, and I almost have like this weird pride about it because you know like there's certain metrics that business students pay attention to or more attention to that haven't applied to me you know in my business career. So I apologize, but I'm not quite sure what you mean when you say CAC for your first virtual call center company. CAC. Um, I can't even think. Does anyone know client acquisition cost? I should know that. All right, so client acquisition cost. Uh, it depends on the method, right? I'm deciding if I want to answer that one because I talk about it in the course. Um, the other thing is that it changed. When I sold the company in October 2019, and at that time, I'll say it. So at that time, if it were like paid traffic, then it was usually around 120 to $150 for a trial. Okay, uh, for a trial. Now, around for paid traffic, for paid traffic, whatever. In a worst scenario, the people that signed up, 50% were gonna continue trial and become a client. But I think it was more like 70%. So assuming it's like 70%, for some reason, I guess it would be 1.3. No, that's not right. Maybe it's 1.6. Let's say 1.6 times the client acquisition cost. It's going to be your total cost for paid clients. So if you're spending 150, then if it's 1.6, I guess it's about $250 or something for the cost. Now the nice thing about that is that our average client made us around $6,600 in revenue. Uh, and the profit on that was at least 30%, so 2,000. So spending, let's say, $250 to make 2,000, you can do that forever. So that's the answer to that. Barker asked, do you remember how many clients you had in your first 3 years with Victory Virtual? At the end of year 3, I'm trying to decide if I want to share that because I do get pretty particular. Okay, so at the end of our first year, we had, I think, in December of 2015, I think we did $17,000 that month in revenue. And at that time, our per client average was lower. So I know we hit 50 clients. Yeah, I think it was a little bit over 50 clients after year one. By the end of year two, um, we were, I don't know. It's gonna be somewhere in the hundreds. It was a three-figure amount of clients after 3 years. Because remember, I sold the company after 4.5 years, so it wasn't that much later than than 3 years, right? Now, obviously, the fourth year was a significantly larger year than the third, and almost, yeah, it sold in October, so it was almost 5 years. The final 10 months of my owning the business. So almost all of the fifth year was significantly more than the fourth year. Uh, but what I will say is that in 2017, early on, April 2017, that's when we were starting to get interest from investors or potential acquisitions. And the very first offer we got in April 2017 was $1 million. Um, and so I think at that time we were pacing for about $500,000 a year, but changes every month. So I hope that sort of answers a little bit for you, Barker. That's the best I can do right now. Triple Sec says not too sure how to word this question. So Jay, the client acquisition cost with that, but what I will say is that, and this is what I've been telling people in the tribe. Um, think about how much you're willing to spend on landing a client based off of making $6,500 in revenue and roughly $2,000 in profit over the course of a year and a half. Technically, we're close to 2 years retention for it, but you want to do it based off of a year and a half. So, whatever you're willing to spend to make your money back over the course of a year and a half, right? Some people don't have giant budgets. So if it's more than 3 months out, then, typically people don't want to wait that long to make their money back on the spend. So whatever you're willing to spend to make $2,000 eventually, that's what you want to keep your cost below. Okay. Did you rehire employees? No. We only rehired people. So we only had 3 agents ever quit, ever. The rest were people that we let go. And so if we fire somebody, there was no reason to. There's so many. We got 65,000 applications, and we never officially put out a job ad. So there's no reason to even have that as in consideration in terms of rehiring employees. You're never going to have trouble finding talent for the company, ever. Um, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that either, right? There's plenty of people out there looking for work, and whether they're good or not doesn't have too much impact as to whether or not they're good for your company or good for that particular job. They could be, fantastic talents, high caliber people, but are they good for the position? For instance, I consider myself to be talented from a working perspective. I'd be an absolutely horrendous call center employee. So yeah, I'm sort of going off on tangents, I know, but I do think it's important for you guys to understand my overall philosophy. I've found that people appreciate that. So if it seems like I'm like ranting or rambling, I apologize. Um, but yeah, triple sec. What's your question? I'm gonna stick around for. Okay, it's been 44 minutes and almost 30 seconds. At 50 minutes, I think I'm gonna, stop. But if there's any questions I haven't finished answering at the 50-minute mark, I will finish answering those questions. Um, and yeah, I hope this has been helpful for you guys so far. Jay asked how important are reviews, for example, Trustpilot reviews and you ask client for review? That's a very good question. And I can't really, I'm not sure if that question's ever been asked on any of these calls, but it's such an important question. Um, and the answer to that is very important, and it's one of the few things we didn't pay near enough attention to. We did not take advantage of the potential of reviews, and it's hilarious because in all of my local service business companies, like my photo booth company, painting company, cleaning companies, all we cared about was reviews. It was like the primary way to grow our business was having a fantastic reputation in terms of reviews. For some reason, I figured because it was national and not local, like I couldn't just pick some market and restrict myself to that market. I was like, oh, reviews won't make or break us. But I didn't even think about things like Trustpilot. So I'm not going to say it was a. In a sense, it was a failure. We didn't, do what. Yeah, I mean, on one hand, the company was still pretty like it was, success for me. But at the same time, the company was relatively new. Eventually, we would have gotten to it if the company became more established and mature. But I think Vicky Virtual to this day doesn't have that many reviews. In fact, I know now that there's some tribe members that have come out of the program that have more reviews and are rated better than Vicky Virtual ever was. So I think it's important. We didn't pay enough attention to it. It would have helped us to do more. Jasana Marie, welcome. Ask, how do you get contract? So I'm going to be very specific about this. I'm going to answer this in two ways. One, my business model that I've gone after for call centers in general, I've never focused on landing contracts. And by contract, meaning long-term agreements where people are signing for, a certain period of time, let's say a year or 2 years or whatever. Never went after contract. Definitely never went after like bidding for government contracts or like Fortune 500, Fortune 1000 companies. I didn't go after that. So if you're looking for that, I'm not the guy. So keep that in mind. Now, if you just mean in terms of landing clients, um, you know what? I'm writing this down. I need to do a video on this. Um, I have very strong feelings about why I did not and will not ever go after contract. Uh, and it deserves its own YouTube video. So, video on why I don't go after contract. I am going to do that one really quickly, really soon, because that's I think that's a really good topic for the channel. Um, Stupid. The reason why I don't go after contract, I'll just do a 30-second answer on this. Uh, it because when you go after contract, typically most call centers like the traditional ones, they go after like contracts. So they try to land 1 to 10 clients, and usually they end up with like 3 or 4, and they're good sizes. They end up with a couple $1 million in revenue usually from it, and that's very nice because if you're good at landing them somehow, you got some connections or whatever, then you're making money. But the issue is that the margins suck because you're going after, like, you're bidding against other competitors. And oftentimes the winning bid is the cheapest option that is considered to be good enough to get the job done. And so, how do you be more efficient with a labor intensive company? You can't. You can either have cheaper labor, so you go overseas, or you ask more and more and more from your people. You say, oh well, instead of 80 calls, you're going to be handling 100 calls. Instead of handling 100 calls and finishing in 2 minutes and 30 seconds, you need to finish them in 2 minutes. And instead of closing 20% of sales, you need to close 25%. And so you get these metrics that are like more and more intense. And it's literally, contracts are literally the reason that agents in general, there's high turnover in the call center industry, and call center companies in general are considered to be soul structured. Now, I mentioned a little bit earlier, we only had 3 people ever quit. Why? Because instead of going after a few large contracts, we went after a bunch of small companies. So $300 a month on average was our average. We had over 1,000. So if it was over 1,000 clients, this is the beauty. They paid us all month to month. So, never a signed contract, but our revenue was bulletproof. We're in a situation where if we lost the client, didn't have an impact on us. It was less than 1% of our revenue in any case once we got to a certain size, right? And so what that means is that if you have a big client that's paying you $100,000 a month, you've got agents dedicated to that account. If they ask for some BS new thing, you have to figure out a way to handle it. And if you lose that, you're not sleeping at night. You're laying people off. Your life sucked for a while, and maybe the business itself is in trouble. If we lost a client, it had literally zero impact. So, it's just a completely different dynamic. And it made it so that I could work, 8 hours a week and not be stressed out at all. So that's a nutshell why I don't go after large contract in terms of, okay, I'm just going to keep talking for a while. In terms of clients in general, I talk about that in the course tremendously. One, in the course, and then two, in our paid student group. The way that I landed clients started off by doing a pre-launch. Uh, I had a cleaning company, and so we reached out to other cleaning business owners during our pre-launch process, and we got an email list built up of people that were cleaning business owners and potentially interested in having their calls answered by a company that was owned by cleaning business owners like them, and that would do a better job than the traditional company because we uniquely understand the cleaning business industry and the pain points and the nuances better, right? So we had a pre-launch, we built up the list. Day one, we had 5 clients. By the end of the first week, we had 10 clients because of that pre-launch. Uh, I wanted to get to break even quickly, so we did some cold calling. And then from the get go, even before we launched, my partner was doing content marketing, writing all kinds of blog posts, Reddit, everywhere. Eventually, we ranked so that we started getting inbound clients coming to us. And actually, very early on, I didn't have to do cold calling anymore, and we could just focus on handling the inbound clients that were coming to us. And we didn't spend a dollar on paid marketing or a sales rep or anything until a year and a half, more than a year and a half into the business, when we were already doing around $25,000 a month, and we decided to finally start focusing on having a sales rep to do outreach. And I will say that's not unique to me. Paul Joseph was talking about this on one of our tribe calls. I talk about him because if you look on the channel, there's a video that said this guy does $50,000 a month and growing after 1 year. That guy did it while stopping outreach after 3 months because one, they landed some good clients, but two, they figured out a way to bring in inbound client through their content marketing. So, Jasana, that's how I did it in a very high level nutshell. But in the course, we talk about all of the ways that you can potentially get clients, and then of course in our call, especially on all the archived recorded calls. I mean, there's like 50 of them at this point. Um, we spend a lot of time talking about marketing, not just me, but other people that have clients and what they did to land those clients. Okay. Okay. So Triple Check is asking, uh, not sure if this was answered, but how much are you able to profit off one agent? We don't think about it actually, you know what? That's not true. Okay. So when I very first was thinking about this model, when I think about any business at all, and actually with these 2 new call centers, one of the first things I think about in terms of figuring out pricing, because in this case, I'm in 2 industries that don't have a bunch of competition, so I had to sort of figure out pricing in a sense from scratch. And so what I do is I figure out, okay, how much is an agent going to cost, how much bandwidth, how many calls can they handle, and how much revenue do I need off of that bandwidth in order to be happy with the margin specifically from the employment of that full-time agent. So what I typically want is to generate at least 2 to 2.5 times what it cost me all in to have that agent. So say, I have an agent that's all in for $2,000 a month. That's what it cost me, right? On average. If that's the case, then I want to generate at least $5,000 in revenue. Now I know that an agent can handle around 4,000 minutes a month. So to get $5,000 in revenue, I need to charge $1.25 a minute on average. So I break down my plan based off of that target revenue. So your profit off of an agent um, it's not like how many clients. It's more so because any client is going to be a different size. You could have one client. Our largest client was $9,000 a month. Our smallest client was on our pay as you use plan, which would I think we had a minimum of $30 a month, and we would charge $2.50 a minute on that plan. So it was a minimum of 12 minutes a month. So it's so variable. It's not like, okay, how many clients? It's more so like how much volume can one agent handle? Answer to that again is around 4,000 minutes a month. And how much am I charging on average per minute? Well, what margin are you looking for? Figure out what that is. And you can use the calculator, again, included in the course. You can use the spreadsheet calculator to start to sketch that out. And you can input price and you can input how much your agent cost. And then everything will spit out. You'll see the margin in that spreadsheet in the corner. Now, with the overseas people, they're less expensive than the US people. So, for instance, if you use my staffing company, Eight Staffing, we charge $1,400 for a full-time awesome agent. So, if you're trying to make 2.5 times, that's $3,500 a month in revenue. And funnily enough, for one of the new call centers, the first client we quoted exactly $3,500 per month per agent. That's exactly what we quoted them. And I sort of forgot about that. So 2.5 times the cost of an agent is how much revenue I seek to get per agent, and I charge accordingly. Because someone costs $1,200 or $1,400 outside the US, I can be cheaper while still retaining the same margin. So in that case, people are like, oh, don't rate to the bottom in terms of your pricing. Stay at a premium. Great. I do want to stay at a premium. But what does premium mean? It simply means you're trying to have a certain margin. Now, if your people are just as good, but they happen to live in cheaper places, then you are able to be cheaper while still being just as premium, right? Like even in the US, like forget about the whole overseas thing. If you hire somebody in California, they're more expensive than someone in Alabama. If your whole team is in Alabama, you can be less expensive, but they're still US agents. If you hire all people in California, you're going to be more expensive. And it's not, Californian agents are not like better than Alabamians or whatever. So, that's what I shoot for 2.5 times, but it can be whatever you want, right? Ruby is probably higher than that. Some of our students, it's more like 3 times. And, some people are like, oh, I just need double. So it's whatever you're looking for. Okay. And by the way, part of the reason why I go for 2.5 times is because if I'm 2.5 times the revenue, the cost of the agents themselves in revenue, then typically the all-in cost of the agent will end up around half. So I'll have like on the agents themselves around 50% business margin after that, or like 100% profit on an agent all in. All in means salary, if there's benefits, cost of the agent license on the phone system, cost of whatever other software tools they use like Slack, Gmail, everything. So all in, figure out what that is, and then double that, and that's how much revenue you want to make. Okay. And then the final thing I'll say is that 4,000 minutes is based off of around 3 hours a day times 22 business days in a typical month. Again, 3 hours is considered lenient, right? The call centers that go after contracts and win bids, actually, in this industry, the cannabis one, our main competitor is doing their bandwidth of agents based off of 5 hours a day. So 5 hours on the phone versus 3 hours on the phone. Which agents are getting more tired? The ones that are doing 5 hours a day on the phone. Very quickly, they're tired. Their bandwidth for the month is higher. 300 times 6,600 minutes a month versus 4,000 minutes a month. So, you can make more revenue per agent, but your turnover is significantly higher, meaning you have to spend a lot more money on hiring, a lot more money on training, a lot more money on, trying to keep your clients happy because the people that are serving them are constantly changing, right? And those are things that are like secretly hidden costs that are eating away at your margin in a different way. So it might seem like you have a better margin up front, but at the end of the day, your net, like your true net, might end up lower. And also you're just more stressed out because it's hard to make everybody happy. So, okay, I've been talking over an hour at this point. I will be on next week. So if any of you have any question, hold on to them or just comment them in the close of this video. I'm always paying attention to the notifications on my channel. Oh, Jesus. Monte said, I remember doing 7 hours on the phone doing my call center job. You need to put your jaws on ice after the shift. See, that's insane. No sane person makes someone talk 7 hours a freaking day. I've been talking for an hour straight, and I'm like, okay, I'm good. I'm done freaking talking. If I had to do this 7 hours a day and it wasn't even working for myself, like that is insane. And yet that's typical. And again, like if you guys go on Facebook, there's entire um group with like 20,000 people in it that talk about the hell that is a call center job. Uh, Yeah, it's extremely stressful to put agents through that, and it's not better. It's just that people do whatever the heck they want to land the contract, and they just don't care about people. So it is what it is. Triple Check said I currently do 9. You're not doing 9 hours. Like you might be sitting on the phone, but I mean literally talk time. So like literally your mouth is moving, talking to people. 9 hours. That can't be possible. That can't be possible. I hope it's not. I really hope that you're not literally having to have 9 hours of talk time a day. And by the way, that 3 hours I said, I don't even mean talk time for my agents. I mean handle time. So talking is like 2 hours and 20 minutes, and then it's 40 minutes of typing up notes and submitting a call summary email. 9 hours of cold calling. Yeah, that's so if it's 9 hours, then are you doing 200 to 300 cold calls a day? Because my most intense cold calling job ever, I was doing 300 calls a day, and I literally, well, 300 dials. I was doing 300 dials every single day. Um, and I got that done in like 6 or 7 hours. You have 7 seconds after a call for after call work? Yeah, okay. This type of stuff. This is why call centers in general, for most companies, most business models, it's very stressful. In the virtual receptionist space, 700 seconds. 700 calls? Yeah, we need to have a whole interview about this. Triple sec, send me an email, Donald at callcenterclass.com. I want to interview like confessions of a call center agent or something. If you don't want your face to be shown, then we should do something about that because, you know, a lot of people are considering call center, but they usually think about the traditional call center instead of the virtual receptionist model. And it's just a lot more fun and less stressful. And I mean, you keep your sanity running a model much more similar to the virtual receptionist. And that's why. Yeah, email me a photo. But other than that, I really do have to go, guys. Been over an hour. Hope this was helpful to you guys. Please, like the video, leave comments, and subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed. And I appreciate y'all, and I'll see you next week.